It is a very sunny day at Brands Hatch as we get set for our second free practice session. For this, the opening round of GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup. And another mighty entry. We have 34 cars here this weekend. Many drivers, in fact, new to Brands Hatch, not a circuit that everybody has visited in the past, and getting those rookies up to speed has been part of what was going on in the earlier free practice session that was topped by the BMW of Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde, who did the time. Track temperature nudging its way towards 30 degrees. An hour of track time afforded to the teams in this second session that's going to get underway very, very shortly. David Addison and Peter Dumbrack are trackside. And Peter, this is a proper track as well, isn't it? A great circuit.
Yes, it's probably one of the best in the country, isn't it? You know, it's been a long time since I've driven it in anger in a race, but it's one I remember fondly, and when I was young, coming up through my racing career, it's one I really look forward to going to. And
it's also a circuit that can bite, as we saw earlier on in the day. We had Audi 66 off the road. Andrea Frasinetti went off at Stirling's. You can down from the drone at the Brands Hatch circuit. Let's have a look at a different view of Brands, because this is the Grand Prix circuit, and as we've been saying, Peter, there's quite a lot of elevation change to this, and barely a straight.
That's it. You know, it's one of those circuits where there's no time to rest. You know, even the Grand Prix circuit, and obviously if you're on the Indy circuit, there's even less time to rest. But the Grand Prix circuit, again, fantastic circuit. So many undulations and up and down and blind crests, and you know, it's one of the old school tracks that's still left in the world.
Just under 4 kilometres in length, and there you can see at the elevation range up to 42.3 metres with that plunge down through Paddock Hill Bend and a very steep climb up the other side to Druids, the hairpin.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things you don't feel so much in the car, but if you were to walk the circuit or run the circuit, it's certainly very steep, and on TV maybe you can't see it either, but actually in real life it's very steep.
Do you feel it in the car, as in sort of go through your body, the compression at the bottom of the hill?
Yeah, if you're carrying speed and you hit that curb at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend and it rumbles through your body, yeah, you feel that kind of G-force going down, and then it gets light again. But you've got a very hard braking corner into Druids as well, and a tricky line through there. Different lines, in fact. You've got two different lines really that you can take through that corner: the wide entry or the turn in early, apex twice or apex once. And it'll be interesting to watch, for me, the GT cars, what they choose to do.
Okay. And in this session, a free practice period, teams will be doing what? Just worrying about setup or balance or scrubbing in tyres, or all of the above? I guess they all have a different run plan.
Well, the thing is, you know, we've got qualifying coming up next, so definitely they're going to need to get ready for that. Time is always limited on these weekends, and you never know when, you know, a red flag will be thrown or the crash or something. There's a lot of cars on track on quite a tight, twisty track, so you're going to make the most of the time.
You raced in the forerunner of this, didn't you? The FIA GT1 World Championship, similar format to 1-hour races, and yeah, it might sound a lot, but you're halving that because you've got a co-driver, and you've got to get the co-driver through practice and qualifying. So the amount of time you're in the car for is not that great.
Exactly, yeah. And then also you've got to prioritise the driver who's going to, you know, take the new tyres and qualify. I'm not sure exactly how the system works here later on, but back in my day, there was the driver who would start on the fresh tyres, then the driver who would take the used tyres. So you really have to get the car up there on the new tyre first of all, and then you go through to the next session. So it's going to be very interesting for me how SRO especially have evolved the championship, and you know, coming for me to see it for the first time. And as I said, so many cars. It's great that motorsport is so great right now.
It is, isn't it? And bear in mind that this weekend we have Pro, Gold, Silver, but we don't have Bronze. Not because there are no entries, there aren't enough garages. When we get to Misano later on in the season in July for the next Sprint Cup event, there are 45 cars penciled in. So that shows you how strong Bronze is, because we've got 34 without it this weekend. That's the climb up towards Druids that Peter was talking about in glorious weather. There is a threat of rain this afternoon and indeed tomorrow, and that's heartening to see. Number 54 Porsche, because that barely got out at all this morning with an electrical problem, but the Dynamic GT team has got the car going. And
who's driving that car again?
Should mean that they're all out on track. It is being driven by Tanat Safran-Tirancourt and his co-driver, whose name escapes me for the moment. He says, looking at the entry list, it is going to be Loris Cabiru, who is the other driver of that car.
Good pronunciation.
Thank you so much. Yeah, welcome aboard, Peter. It's going to be one of those weekends, is it? I can tell. Danny Junqueira then at the wheel of the Red Bull liveried Mercedes. This is the car that he shares with Chris Lallam. It's the Verstappen.com racing entry, and really interesting to see Max Verstappen taking such an interest in GT3 racing, as Lance Stroll did. He raced at Paul Ricard. Aston Martin's good to go. Jamie Day, the quick Brits for Valkenhorst. What sort of car do we need around here? Is it about grunt? Is it about aero? A bit of both?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, there's no massive long straights like Paul Ricard, for instance. So I would imagine it's more of an aero circuit. As long as you can carry the speed through the corners, you don't need to worry so much about the straight. So I would say it's more aero, yeah.
Well, Porsche's across the line, including number 10, which is Robin Knudsen, racing here for the first time. Ricardo Feller, who's been a Sprint Cup champion back in 2023 when he was an Audi driver, now on the Porsche roster. And this is the Lion Speed car that he shares with the Danish driver Bastian Boost. That should be a competitive car because both are very, very quick and both now specialise in Porsches. Ricardo Feller with Lion Speed had a season in the Bronze Cup last year, even though he's platinum, but he was with Bronze co-drivers, so he was eligible for that, and he's learnt about Porsches, so now he's on that Porsche factory roster, and he and Boost will be a very quick combination. Big slide there going through Surtees.
Yeah, cold tyres obviously. Well, it's not that cold out there, but yeah, gradually getting the temperature up. You know, a big thing for me, I think, is a bit of patience around this circuit. You know, it's I can already see watching the cars, they're all kind of bunched up in various parts of the circuit. It's not that long a circuit, and with 34 cars, it's, you know, it's really going to be quite a tight and twisty experience for the drivers, where they have to remain patient, and to get the fastest lap, their fastest lap, they're going to need to maybe gradually ease back from another car and time it perfectly.
Cars have got wider over the years. Brands Hatch has not. People say it's a narrow circuit. Well, it's not shrunk, but cars have got bigger, and that means that overtaking is not that easy.
Yeah, it's always been a difficult overtaking circuit. This, I mean, you might watch on bikes around here where they are able to overtake, and it's a fantastic race. But with cars, it's that much harder. So you're really relying on mistakes from the car in front and capitalising when you get that chance.
Or indeed in pit stops when you get to the race itself, because the pit stops in sprint are not done to a regulation time. They're a natural pit stop, as quick as you can. So WRT, for example, always really good on the pit stops and tends to gain time. Right, you're looking at Porsche number 80. Ricardo Feller is 6th. It is a Porsche quick is Robin Knudsen in the Boutsen rebuilt car after its big crash at Paul Ricard in the endurance opener. There, number 59, McLaren. Dean McDonald at the wheel, the very rapid Scottish driver. For Andrew got his team, and behind him is number 32 BMW, which is the car that was quickest in FP1, and Charles Weerts at the wheel of the car. There it is. Two very different examples of a GT3 car, the McLaren versus the what looks like a big touring car, the BMW.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the balance of performance is key. And as the years have progressed, since the balance of performance came in, it gets more and more advanced. Got another car off.
Way off there through.
Luckily, no damage, it looks like.
That is Felix Hersinger at the wheel of the Ferrari. He's a Ferrari Challenge champion, but guess what? Brands Hatch rookie. So he's had a big moment there. As you say, no damage, but he will have done those tyres no good.
Yeah, that's the thing with Paddock Hill. You kind of turn in at the top of it and you think everything's okay, and then about halfway down you realise you're sliding sideways, and last thing you want is to spin the car, because you never know what's going to happen. So you try and just slide it out and keep it under control. You've got the gravel there, and he was able to just gradually bring it back on before he touched the wall.
Lucas Auer here at the wheel of number 48, and Maro Engel is his co-driver. They were victorious here in one of the races last season, and while Lucas Auer turns into Sterling's, let's go to the pit lane and catch up with Nina Jade Paul. She's got Maro Engel with her.
Maro, you dominated race 2 last year with a brilliant win. What are your hopes for this weekend? What will be the main challenges?
Well, first of all, it's always great to be back in Brands Hatch. It's such a great circuit, old school, a lot of memories. It's been good to us in the past, and yeah, we're just preparing in the best possible way and hopefully make it a successful day tomorrow for us.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you, cheers.
Maro Engel, always a good character, and as we had him in the booth at Paul Ricard, just as his race unravelled, we could see him stiffen in his chair as the safety car was called, and he knew that they were on borrowed time. Ultimately, Mercedes AMG that had dominated the day, lost out to Aston Martin. However, he bounces back. He's been a Sprint Cup champion in the past, and he and Lucas Auer have made a really good combination. Lucas Auer coming from the DTM to GT3 racing, Gerhard Berger's nephew. Right now, though, it's a BMW 1-2. Charles Wirtz ahead of Valentino Rossi. You're on board, though, here with Lucas Auer. Peter, heading up towards Hawthorns.
Yeah, some lovely fast corners out here. Again, probably most people's favourite part of the track, where you gradually take the speed down, and then rising up to Dingle Dell. Again, this has changed a little bit over the years, probably for safety, etc. But it used to be a real rise. You look at the old videos of British touring cars through there. Yeah. It was a wild ride. So gradually the track's evolved a little bit, but essentially it's the same layout.
And then this pit straight isn't really a straight at all, is it?
Yeah, you're continually turning, and you can see that, you know, in a car that you're starting from the grid stationary. It's a tricky starting grid that. We've got a bit of a moment there. You see what I mean about the cars halfway down Paddock Hill. The car begins to slide a little bit, and you've got to get it under control. So through Druids, back over to the right side, bit of a left, and power on now, yeah. You've got nice green segments that never used to be there.
That was the moment. The little twitch, but he managed to hang on to that, so well saved. And now onto the Grand Prix loop once again, rattles the curb on the outside there.
Yeah, so you can see him, how he's starting to catch the cars in front. He's probably going to get his lap compromised.
Yeah, traffic management in a session like this, in qualifying as well, is going to be absolutely vital, especially as we keep saying with so many cars, 34, and they're all of a comparable pace. They're all GT3 cars, not like you have a GT4 class where there's a speed gap.
Yeah, that's right, and there's not that many overtaking places around this track, so you can get held up quite badly. It's so far not too bad for him. He is gradually sneaking up to the car in front. The McLaren, yeah, so you see in that turning zone there, I think he did get compromised, so he'll have lost a little bit of time down the straight.
Number 59 McLaren, which is Dean McDonald at the wheel, coming up towards the end of the lap. This car green in sectors, which means personal best. You can see on that timing tower who is doing greens. We've just had Mikey Porter's McLaren go up to second in the times, the Optimum Run car. Dean McDonald goes fourth on a 1:23.736. So the times are coming. We're not yet at a qualifying pace, for example. The best qualifying lap we've ever had is a 21.3 from Raffaele Marciello in his Mercedes AMG days. But you can anticipate in qualifying that we'll get a little bit closer to that, temperature permitting. Louis Pret in the middle there, who is one of the Garage 59 McLaren drivers in the gold category, and really has come on a pace in the last couple of years. Dean McDonald has gone purple in the first sector. Dylan Pereira in Audi number 99 has just gone up to second in the times. The Audi we were touching on in the earlier session might be an old car now, the Audi R8, but it's still a good sort of turnkey GT3 race car.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good history of winning various championships, including Nürburgring 24 over the years. So you're right. I think generally what happens as a car gets that bit older, they might ease off the balance of performance of it and let it, you think of the old Aston Martin, for instance, how long that was winning races into its life. So we're on the newer spec one now, and which is also winning races. So, as I said before, I think what big slide there from Pereira.
Yeah, Audi has really scaled back its customer racing involvement since it committed to Formula One. But there are teams still running these cars and running them well, and they're durable. And Attempto, which runs this car you're looking at, Dylan Pereira's entry, understands it inside out. So they see no real reason to change. The car is still competitive and it's capable of winning in class. Replay of Dylan Pereira's moment. Just talk us through this. Super slow-mo for you.
Yeah, you see it might have just touched the curb, but it's just a pure speed through the corner. He's just carrying a lot of speed. You see the undulation of the track, the suspension damping, and in the end, bit of a moment there. But in the car, you've got it. It's not a big deal. He's an experienced, fast driver, and you just get hold of it. But the biggest thing for you as a driver is you've lost time from it. And then, so you've lost time in that corner and you've lost time on the next straight. So, and you saw that his next sector was not such a good one.
Sure. Drivers getting set, ready to take over, including Alex Arca, who will take over the number 99 Audi from Dylan Pereira in the Attempto garage. Meanwhile, Charles Weerts, who was the fastest, has pitted, but Dylan Pereira here, absolute best sector 1, but he's lost a little bit of time in sector 2. So even though he had that slide a lap ago, he's still pushing.
He is. I mean, that's the thing. He's finding the limits. It's still early in the weekend, relatively. So he's finding those limits. He's right up to that white line. You know, this is, yeah, looking like a better lap than last time. Will he go any quicker than his fastest? Not quite, no.
Not quite, no. That was a 23 and a half, and a 23.458 was his earlier best, so he's not far away.
You know, one of the big things as a racing driver, ultimate speed is fantastic, and, you know, qualifying, that's what it's about. But consistency in the car, lap after lap after lap, to hit that same lap time, that's the sort of thing that's going to win you races.
Sure enough. Well, right now it is BMW, Audi, McLaren. Mikey Porter in the Optimum McLaren number 5 is third, quickest Valentino Rossi fourth, Dean McDonald's McLaren 5th, Jamie Day's Aston Martin 6th, Lucas Auer 7th, Danny Junkadea 8th. The Mercedes AMG is not yet sparkling, but again, it's free practice. How much do you read into outright pace?
Yeah, until we see qualifying, it's like any form of motorsport. Same with Formula 1. You know, until we see the first laps in qualifying, you know where everyone is. But you know, you look through the top 10 manufacturers. You got a Ferrari, actually even further down, 16, the first Ferrari. But you've got all the other manufacturers covered all the way down there. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. Yeah, funnily enough, all the Ferraris are all grouped from now 17th to 26th. So yeah, I'll be very interested in qualifying to see if any of them come further up and whether they're just running a kind of strategy right now.
Yeah, perish the thought that a brand would sacrifice a session to then plead a better BOP for later on. I mean, that would never happen, surely.
No, absolutely not.
No. Right, so there, fourth quickest is Alexei Nesov's Porsche. That runs in silver, and it's second in silver to Mikey Porter's McLaren. Alexei Nesov, very experienced driver, so is his co-driver Alex Malikin, who we've seen in the WEC and Asian Le Mans, as well as in GT World Challenge Europe and British GT. Somebody that's not raced for that long, but has done a huge amount of miles in a short space of time. Climb up through Dingle Dell, through Sheen Curve, and then into Stirling's. It was here that we had Andrea Frassinetti's Audi in the gravel in FP1. Number 50 Ferrari, meanwhile, is Arthur Leclerc, Charles Leclerc's brother, and he's heading up towards the timing line now in what we think should be, with Thomas Neubauer as co-driver, a really competitive car, and Leclerc goes fastest then as he goes across the line, 1:23.418. That's more like we expected from a Ferrari.
Yeah, so, you know, we did spot that, the fact there was no Ferraris up there, and all of a sudden we got one fastest. So, yeah, maybe some small games being played.
Didn't do an outright best in any of the sectors, but it was all bolted together nicely, and so Arthur Leclerc then to the top by 24 thousandths of a second. We're talking tiny margins here.
Yeah, actually, you know, it's one of those tracks that, you know, you're going to see these tight margins, but when you look down the laps from 1st to 10th, you've got 3 tenths in it. You know, that's what we want to see. That's the kind of racing we want to see.
A couple of pairs of cars split by just 2 thousandths of a second. The magic second at the moment covers the top 22 cars. 22 cars all within a second of each other. So the BOP clearly works. Arthur Leclerc is still pushing, isn't he? Personal best sector 1, but he's coming up on traffic. And by the look of it, ragged traffic, kicking the dust into the air. And more dust there, look, as it's dragged onto the ground. That's 914, the Porsche that Simon Birch and Magnus Gustafsson are sharing. And it's the car that's slowest, Gustafsson at the wheel, and I just wonder whether that's affected Leclerc's lap a little because he's dropped time in that middle sector.
He did have a slide on the penultimate corner as well, which probably cost him a little bit.
Now another Ferrari needing to get a wriggle on, number 51 here. This is Tommaso Mosca, but this is a car in gold, so you might not necessarily expect it to be up at the outright pole position battle. However, he has done the absolute best in the first sector.
So is Mosca a gold or platinum driver?
Mosca is a gold.
Yeah, so You know, there's no difference in the cars. It's just the difference in the driver lineup. And if you're a gold driver, you're rated anyway. So you're going to be quick enough to be up there.
And we had Chris Lallam as a gold on outright pole here last year with Thierry Van Meulen. Outright quickest, Tommaso Mosca, 2 absolute bests and a personal best. That is a really good lap. He's quicker than Arthur Leclerc by 61 thousandths of a second. So it's now Ferrari 1-2.
Yeah, I'm just, again, I've got my FIA hat on for a second here.
Okay.
I see the exit to Paddock Hill Bend, and I wonder whether they're governing that way. So he was off the track there, effectively. He was all 4 wheels over the white line. And I'm not sure how this championship runs up. And in WEC, which I work in, that's a track limit. So this track is now struck off.
Okay, interesting, interesting. Certain corners are being policed. The majority of the transgressions are at Graham Hill Bend as turn 3. But there were, in fact, teams at the end of FP1 heading to Niels Vittich, the race director, to ask for clarification because quite a lot of laps were pinged earlier on in the day. Lucas Auer coming down towards Clark Curve. In the earlier session, this did not look like the most compliant of cars. Lucas Auer seems to be having quite a tough job wrestling it around corners, and he's just gone up to 8th, but you might have anticipated more out of this car.
Yeah, you always expect a bit, you know, I think with a neutral head-on, you tend to think the Mercedes is your benchmark car over all the categories, all the different championships. Yeah. The Merc is the one that, you know, you took a poll of 100 drivers. I think over half of them would choose to go in the Merc. So, yeah, it's kind of known to be the best of the GT cars, the most compliant, most easy.
And that is not compliant at all as Dean McDonald fires off the road. That was coming out of Paddock. That looked like quite a wild ride. Yeah,
it's another one of those moments halfway down, probably a slide on, taking him out over onto the gravel. Once you get in that gravel, obviously you lose all the grip. So the best thing you do then is not to brake heavily, is just lift out the throttle, get the car under control and gradually bring it back. So you saw him take out the... Yeah, now he's just chill out, just get it together. Yeah.
Photographer ran for his life, but Dean McDonald gets it back on. And he's also under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, Dean McDonald. So he's had an off and he's been a bit quick to get back on track. And when you're being investigated for pit lane speed, there's not really much investigation. I mean, the data is there. You're guilty normally.
That's it, yeah. Again, with the FIA hat on, it's almost taken out of the stewards room that it's a simple decision. Whatever, 63 into 60, it's in a session like this, it's not going to be a big penalty. But if you're to do that in qualifying or in the race itself, you're going to get a sizable penalty.
Yeah, exactly. So at this stage, it's probably financial more than anything more.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just to make the point, Peter, when he's at WEC events, he's driving standards advisor and has other tasks to perform, but he's looking at the nature of the race from a driver's point of view and looking at incidents as well and helping the stewards to unravel. Dean McDonald this time a bit calmer going through Paddock. Interesting that he stayed out, even though the tyres clearly had suffered. He's not pitted and put on a new set. He'll carry on and try and clean them up.
Thing is, as a driver, you don't want your last lap to be through Paddock Hill.
In the gravel.
In the gravel, yeah. And then immediately pit, because how are you going to feel next time you go? It's going to be in the back of your mind, and getting back up to speed is going to be difficult. So the best thing you can do is stay in the car, go and do at least one more lap, gradually build the speed back up again, and then hand it over to your teammate.
Fair point. Well, this car has been handed over. So Dylan Pereira out, Alex Arca in, and the Attempto Audi heading up to the line. We've had a new top time, by the way. Ricardo Feller's Porsche, 123.066. Now to be nearly 3/10 to the good. Lucas Auer goes across the line, and he is still 12th. So Feller to the top. Max Hesser has taken over Valentino Rossi's BMW and was third. He's now fourth because Gilles Magnus has gone up to second. And Danny Juncadella here in the Red Bull liveried Mercedes AMG that comes under the Team Verstappen Racing banner. Could go top, does go top as he goes across the line. So Danny Juncadella, a DTM winner here in the past, does a 122.932, and that's quicker by just over a tenth.
Yeah, again, I know from having spoken to various people in the paddock how much interest. You might think that Max just gives his name to this. Yeah. No. Where are they this weekend? In Miami. Guaranteed he'll be looking at the data from this car, be sent to him, and he'll be giving suggestions. He'll be really involved with it, because I've heard firsthand from the people that know that he is absolutely taken in this.
Yeah, agreed. As Arthur Rougier goes off the road, McLaren gets back on. Yeah, people that drove for him last year said he's involved in so many of the debriefs, whether he's in person and comes to the sim sessions that they were doing, so he's totally invested. He was there at Paul Ricard watching. Right, Arthur Rougier back on track, and that McLaren with dirty tyres. We've had more incidents already in this session than we had in the entirety of FP1, so drivers pushing that bit harder now.
Yeah, as the weekend ramps up, obviously everyone's got in their mind that the next time they go on track is qualifying.
Super slow-mo replay.
So, yeah, that's 2 cars actually off there. So first car just one wheel, and then the other car all 4.
Yeah, Rougier heading for somebody's back garden there. He's a long way off. And of course, as people do this, they get back on, they bring the dust and the dirt, and somebody catches it and goes off and rejoins bringing more, and on it goes.
It only takes a little bit, and for you to be unsighted and not know that you're about to get onto some dust, and you're on the limit already, and it just takes the car over the edge.
So driver changes now. Danny Juncadella, Ricardo Feller, Gilles Magnus, the top 3. That was the quickest car for a time. Ricardo Feller still in the hunt, second fastest. He will give the Porsche over to Bastien Bus. Unmistakably a Porsche shape, but 911s haven't got bigger over the years, but still a very competitive car, that. It was a Porsche out of the Rutronic stable that won the endurance title last year, but Lion Speed stepping up to the Pro Cup for the first time, a team that also has really moved on apace in a short space of time. So Ricardo Feller, the Swiss driver, second in the times. More dust kicked up in the air coming out of Surtees.
That's the thing, I mean, considering it's still, you know, spring. It's been very dry lately. It's a lovely day again today. There's no moisture around, so as soon as you touch that dust, it just comes up in the air.
It's a nice problem to have, because quite often it's a wet grass verge, because it's been raining in the week and cars get on the green bit and keep on sliding.
Well, as you say, we might have that tomorrow.
Yeah, sadly, you're right. Feller through on the inside there of the Rutronic Lamborghini. That's the Luca Angela car, which is still the Temerario, very much in development, and it does not yet have the pace required, but they're getting there bit by bit. Right, more driver changes as Chris Lullum steps forward to take over from Danny Juncadella. Chris Lullum, who really came to prominence winning in radicals, but largely esports, sim racing is where he made his name.
Yeah, you know, that's as time goes on, it's more and more of a thing where a driver comes through e-racing, learns the basics from effectively a computer, and then transfers that to real life. Yeah, it's very, for an older fella like myself, who relied on testing and then real life work. Yeah. I've never really been into the sim, but to see a driver, and actually, I have obviously been in sims, and I can't come anywhere near their lap times in sims. Really? But I'm pretty sure I could on the track. Yeah. Even now, I still could. Yeah. So it's such a different way of thinking, and it's something I can't get my head around.
And there are one or two people that have gone the opposite way. James Baldwin, as an example, somebody that was a real-world racer, ran out of money, went to sim racing, started winning things, getting paid, came back into real-world racing, won British GT race at Alton Park, and then at the end of the season was recategorised and fell away from real-world racing because he wasn't required, because he was the wrong grade, and went back to sim racing where he was earning good money and still very successful. So, yeah, it's certainly since COVID, it's been a remarkable boom in sim racing. Meanwhile, back on track, more dust in the air, more dust on the road. Ricardo Feller chasing after Thierry Vermeulen's Ferrari, the other Red Bull liveried car. It's now got Ben Green behind the wheel of it, and Feller bails to put Bastien Bus into the car. There is that Lamborghini Temerario, the Rutronic colours. The team looked after by Klaus Graf. Over the line goes Luca Engstler. That was an improvement, but only up to 27th. The Temerario still with a lot of development work to do, it would appear. So, not far off the halfway point of the session. Teams now cycling through drivers, putting different driver into the car, practicing pit stops as well, trying to let everybody have some track time. And so far, no major dramas. We did have a red flag in the earlier session, but although we've had a couple of cars off the road, not been too serious in this. Everybody conscious, of course, that the next session is the one that really matters when they get to qualifying and 2 grids will be decided. So there is Luca Engschler, who won many a title in TCR touring cars in Malaysia, in China, and his father, Franz Engschler, another single-seater convert to touring car racing. Nowadays, Luca part of the Lamborghini squad, which takes the financial pressures away from the Engschler family somewhat. There's number 99 Audi back out. Alex Archer has dropped down the times a little bit now to 9th, and he's going to let the traffic go there, isn't he?
Yeah, always a wise thing to do. You know, drivers remember who let them by and who didn't let them by. And you do, it etches in your mind, okay, I'm not going to try very hard. If I know you're coming up behind me, I'm not going to try very hard to let you by. Or, but if you let me by, then it will be returned.
Yeah, you soon find out who your friends are, don't you? Especially when it's a championship decider and you get through the traffic. 84 Audi is the other one to keep an eye on. Christopher Haase, who has been racing Audis, it seems like forever, but for certainly a decade plus, with great success. And he shares this car with Simon Reicher. It's Haase at the wheel. The car is currently 7th in the times. It improved last lap. I don't think it's going to improve this time. Haase goes through, no, stays 7th in the order.
Yeah, I was racing against Haase back in 2010, 2011. Yeah.
About that, yep. And I think he had a spell driving a KTM in a subclass of GT4, but other than that, largely, he has been an Audi man through and through. They've looked after him. He's delivered with titles and race success. And yeah, he might not be the quickest driver anymore, but he's so experienced, isn't he?
Yeah. I think, you know, it was him having that race with Max at Nürburgring. What was that, a week or two ago?
Yeah.
No, he's still got it. He's still got it. He's still up there. I guess if you're to look through the names of the top 10 drivers, you might not naturally put him there. You know, you're going to have the Engel there. You're going to have
Bastian Boos maybe, Kelvin van der Linde maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. Some of the DTM drivers.
Yeah.
But Haase is definitely one of your safe pair of hands.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's so dependable. He knows the circuits. He knows the car inside out. You know, he's helped develop it over the years as well. There you get an idea of how close Brands Hatch is to local residents as the house is back on to the final part of the Grand Prix circuit, and Haase down at the pit lane. These drone shots are fantastic. Gives you a real idea of what the circuit is like and the area in which it sits that perhaps you don't get from the trackside cameras. So 31.5 minutes just over still remain in this second free practice session. Around the back of the paddock they go. Konsa Lappalainen is getting ready to jump on board his Ferrari. Which I wonder whether it's got a problem because it's in the garage, which is never a great sign. What are they doing, I wonder?
Brakes change? Brake pads?
Yeah, it looks like it might be.
Which could just be normal, you know, they're just getting ready to break the... Let's think about it. You're not going to put your qualifying... you're not going to change pads during qualifying or anything.
No,
so you might be just getting ready for the race and this part of it.
Yeah, Konsa Lappalainen sharing with Matteo Cairoli, very rapid driver, whether it's been in Porsches or Lamborghinis or last year Mercedes. Now he's got a Ferrari, so he's jumping from brand to brand. And he's never raced here before, Matteo Cairoli. This is Valentino Rossi at the wheel of number 46. Now concentrating again purely on GT World Challenge after a season or two in the World Endurance Championship. And boy, has he come on since he started in GT3.
Yeah, who are we talking about?
Valentino Rossi.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yes, he has. I mean, he can hold it with the best of the... Well, is he silver?
Yeah.
So he's a super silver. Yeah.
A very shiny silver, exactly. But yeah, I mean, to begin with, you know, he was learning his trade and with thousands of fans here expecting him to do in a car what he did on a motorbike. Now he is Valentino Rossi GT racer, not 9 times MotoGP champion. But yeah, okay, that's in his history, but now you think of it as a GT driver.
Well, that's the thing. If you've been that successful at anything in life, you tend to, everything in life you tend to go at. You know, you don't want to be rubbish at anything. You want to be the best at everything you can be. So he's really knuckled down, as you say. He was in WEC last year. We had him in our office for a little chat occasionally. But, you know, very, very successful driver as well as a bike rider, obviously. And Yeah, it's great to see, and it brings a lot of attention to the championship as well. Makes it possible then for other drivers to come in, like Max. You know, the possibility of Max coming in to do more races. Max doing the 24 hours of Nürburgring this year as well, and then, as you say, Lance Stroll coming in. So it raises the profile, and you know, this kind of racing is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is Valentino Rossi then on a push lap. He's down a little bit in the first sector, coming up now towards Sheen Curve, then into Stirling's, where it's just slightly banked, isn't it? Slightly cambered here.
It seems that every corner is slightly cambered.
Yes,
some off cambered, but like you look at the outside, the entry into Paddock Hill, it's off camber, and then it dips in, and you get the camber again.
This is your fastest car in silver. Mikey Porter did the time. Guillaume Oliveira is now at the wheel of the Optimum Racing McLaren. Optimum had a win in British GT at Silverstone in the 3-hour race a week ago, and coming up towards Stirling's right now. We're into the second half of the session. The second quickest car in silver is the Alex Malikian Porsche. Loris Kabiru's Porsche third, so the Dynamique car going much better than it did earlier on, like it barely went in FP1. And this lap for Oliveira coming up towards Arlie. It's not going to be an improvement. He's down in the sectors, but that's not to say that this is a team looking for lap times. They could just be working through the run plan.
Yeah, as I said earlier, consistency is one of the keys around most circuits, really. And if you've got a good, consistent car and you're able to hold a pace, and you know you tend to be fighting. So if you think about it, you've got a tank of fuel that's gradually going to get lighter, and you've got a set of tyres that are gradually going to lose grip. And if you can maintain that lap time with a lighter fuel load and then a worsening set of tyres, then you've got a good race car, and that's the holy grail. Obviously in qualifying it's a different story, but in the race itself you want a nice consistent car.
And it's got to be a car that works for both of you. You know, there are lots of people coming into this as rookies who've been in single driver, single seater racing. Now they've got to learn about a new car and a car with a roof and a different aero feel, but also share it and work with their co-driver to make it work for both.
You're right. If you're a lower level driver, a lower rated driver, a bronze driver, generally speaking, the driver that's with you, a platinum or a gold, is going to try to give you more track time, try to help you with the lines of the track, the data. After this session, they'll sit down together, they'll go through the data, and it might be that the pro driver will sacrifice a setup that he would like to drive, a more aggressive setup, so that it's more placid for a bronze driver to be quicker, because you need your bronze driver to be lap after lap consistent. And if your car is super aggressive over one lap, then it's no good for the bronze driver.
Johnny Adams always been a fine example of unlocking a bronze.
He's your prime, yeah. If you're gonna, hence all his victories in British GT.
Exactly. And somebody that's not in British GT this year. He's in this championship, the endurance half of the year, and of course in WEC, but he's always been the great bronze unlocker. Right, number 48 Mercedes you're looking at, and it has dropped to 15th in the times. Mauro Engel's now been installed behind the wheel of it, but it just doesn't seem to have clicked yet today, this car, not just in this session but the earlier one. In FP1 it did in the end get up to 4th in the times, but still 15th. Okay, they could be working on a race run here and not thinking about qualifying, but it still doesn't look like the happiest of cars.
No, and I think he'll probably be frustrated with that as well. As a driver, you see everything, you're very well aware of how your car is feeling and the lap times that you're seeing on the split that you're seeing on the dashboard. You know exactly how quick you are pretty much at every section of the track, and you're trying to improve your driving at the same time as thinking about setup for the car and then trying to avoid the traffic. You know, and the guys that have got to the top, they've managed to pull off maybe 1 or 2 laps quick away from traffic, and I'm sure they're happy with their car. But the ones that are, you know, from 10th down, they're still probably thinking very seriously about car setup and what they do with it going into qualifying. See the lights flashing from Engel there, telling the driver ahead to just please move out the way, let me come.
One car that is in the pit lane, or is about to head to the pit lane, is number 54 Porsche. Loris Kabiru is being given a stop-and-go penalty of 10 minutes for abusing track limits. That hurts, doesn't it?
Absolutely, in a session that how many minutes have we got left of this session?
24.
Yeah, so that's yeah, and of course that car comes in. They are not allowed to touch the car, and the car must leave the pits again untouched. So that is the penalty. It's not like it could stop for 10 minutes and then they could do adjustments on the car. No, it's got to leave the pits. And if they need to do another pit stop, they need to come back again. So, yeah, no, and so effectively it costs more than 10 minutes. And I did talk about a little bit earlier track limits. So they are watching very closely. And there'll be somewhere, a computer somewhere in race control, logging all these track limits. And it could be that it's got to 5 track limits, but a 10-minute stop would be more than 5, we would have thought.
Well, turns 1 and 3 are where most of the warnings are coming, and in terms of the total number of track limit warnings, 10 for that car.
Hence it, yeah.
There you go, yeah. There you are. But, you know, Chris Lallam, Danny Junkadea's car is on 5, and it's to the car, isn't it, not the individual driver? In this instance.
I'm not sure, actually, because Weckett is to the driver.
Right, I think in free practice we're doing it to the car, at least. However, 10 is a mighty number to rack up.
You know, and I talked about it, it's so easy to run all 4 wheels, because the problem is there is space to go. That green section that they put beyond the curbs, it is still very easy to run all 4 wheels off and still be effectively on the track, on some kind of tarmac, but your car is off, and that's going to count as one of your track limits.
Yeah, even if it's not, you know, a deliberate foul to you know, use that. You might have a tiny error that just forces you slightly wide, but a track limit is a track limit. Doesn't matter how you got there. If you're wide, you're wide.
Exactly, and that's what makes it black and white. That is the easiest point, because most of the corners now have a, so that's the second car on.
Yeah, another one's got a 10-minute stop go. 9:14, Simon Birch in the Razoon Porsche, 10 minutes. So, yeah,
I think
clamping down.
Bear in mind, I know the race engineers will be on to the driver saying, you're racking up these track limits now, you really need to control it, and I'm sure the race engineers will be quite frustrated that the driver just keeps pushing that envelope too far.
Yeah, we've got the number 51 Ferrari on 9, you've got Amaury Cordial's BMW on 8, you've got Mattia Michelotto's Lamborghini on 9 as well, so there are a lot of drivers there who are not far off penalties, that's for sure. So, more and more for the sin bin, potentially before the very end, which is 22 minutes away. One car missing, by the way, is number 66 Audi that was in the gravel at Stirling's. We weren't really sure how much damage had been done. Well, the answer is enough to keep it out of this session. So, you know, to miss an hour of, well, half an hour in the first session, give or take, and then another hour here, potentially, that you're not out on track, that's really going to put you on the back foot.
I would think that that's going to ruin their weekend. Yeah, that's a real. I mean, the thing, you know, you start thinking about other variables to try and help you. Another variable could be rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
And okay, if rain came in, that could help them. But I was just looking down the list, and as far as I can see, the only car without any track limits is Mara Engel's 48 Mercedes.
You're right.
So that's impressive that they've stayed out of trouble.
There is number 66 being rebuilt. The Frasinetti Levi Audi went off, as I say, in the earlier session. The SRO technical team just overseeing the work as well, making sure everything is legit. Here's the replay of what happened this morning. The car just puts a wheel onto the grass coming up towards Stirling's. That becomes 2 wheels, and then it gets all sideways. And at this point, it's gone past the point of no return. It snakes its way towards the gravel, and Frasinetti just can't do anything about it. He plunges under the camera and bang into the tyre barrier, and it was a hard enough knock that to do damage on that right front corner, and without very much time between sessions, it's still not been rebuilt and they're still working on it. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1. There was a car that I think has just gone through the gravel, but the green lights are back on, so the dust is settling and the work on the Audi continues. It's quite stripped down, isn't it, that? A lot of bodywork taken off it, a lot of things taken off.
Yeah, I guess they know. They knew then that we're going to miss this session. They've got a bit of time between now and qualifying, so they may as well have the car absolutely as near to 100% as possible, and if it means stripping it right down, then yeah, they're going to do that.
There is the Danny Juncadella, Chris Lallam Mercedes AMG. Danny Juncadella did the time. 007 looks like it's been off, doesn't it? Because it's a bit dusty on the left-hand side. That's Kobe Powell's, the guy that started rallycrossing before coming into GT racing. His father was a very good rallycrosser as well, Koen Pauwels. But Kobe's had a moment. 21 is Oliver Söderström ahead. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's definitely off.
Yeah, did well to hold that little oversteer. Actually went off quite early in the corner as well. Just carried way too much speed in.
Bit of a wobble under braking, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did well to not rotate into the wall with that one.
Yeah, so Kobe Pauwels back on track, but now has that sort of walk of shame down the pit lane. Everyone's just seen the replay, and here he is down the pit lane.
Yeah, you can even tell by the state of the tyre wall that it's been through that gravel.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a long way down in the times, 31st as well. And Kobe Pauwels has raced here, came here last year. New tyre going on all 4 corners. And they look to be keeping Pauwels behind the wheel. Their number 10 is the best car in gold right now. 3rd overall, Robin Knudsen, bouncing back from an accident at the first corner, which put him out of the 6-hour race of Paul Ricard. Destroyed the car as well, so it's been a big rebuild. But Robin Knudsen has never raced at Brands, and he's 3rd in the times, going really well.
Absolutely. You know, it's not the easiest of circuits because you know, you take a typical Grand Prix circuit like Paul Ricard, where you've got loads of space, acres of space, very wide track, and you come here and it's a bit like a mini Nürburgring, you know, Nordschleife. There's very little room for error if you happen to get it wrong, go over the grass, go into, as we just saw from the Audi earlier on, one small mistake and you could be in the wall. So it's a track where you need confidence to gradually build up your speed. You're looking at how wide these cars are getting just on the entry there. Another foot wider, and you're onto the grass, and you're going straight into the wall like we saw from the Audi. So it's pinpoint accuracy. The fastest guys are going to be millimetre perfect.
The climb here up through Sheen Curve. Robin Knudsen still pressing on, still 3rd in the times. Behind him is number 7 by the look of it. So Kobe Pauwels has gone back out.
So we saw new tyres going onto that car. So he's not bringing them in very slowly. I kind of thought that he'd have a bit of a slower out lap, but he's just decided to maybe time his time. They're just going to push.
Valentino Rossi, you saw, who's handed over that car to Max Hesse, who'd only just gone out. So that was Valentino Rossi, fresh out of the car at the end of a stint. Through Paddock Hill Bend goes Robin Knudsen once again. Marvin Kirchhofer has gone fast right into the top 10. He's had quite a calm, understated session for somebody that's very, very rapid around here and races in British GT, or has raced here in British GT in the past. This is Chris Lulham, still at the wheel of number 3, Danny Junqueira, having done the time. And that Mercedes does look the real deal, doesn't it?
It does, certainly. It's up there, P1 right now by 10th of a second, but that really doesn't mean too much around here at the moment.
But the interesting thing is that that's the best Mercedes. Where's the next one? 18th. A lot of cars between Mercedes.
Yeah, you're right. That is a very interesting little thing there. What makes the difference?
Yeah. But this car looks a lot more compliant, a lot more planted, a lot smoother a ride than when we've been looking at the Winward car number 48, the Engel Hour car, where it hasn't seemed to get the same pace. And Lucas Au's onboards earlier on were suggesting he was fighting the car a little bit. The team managers of those cars that have got the stop-go penalties are being summoned to race control, which suggests that they have not yet made their stop-go penalties.
Yeah, potentially. It could be just something they do anyway. You know, when you got 10 track penalties like that, there's a good chance you're going to have to go to the race director anyway.
True. We just had Marvin Kirchhofer here go 2nd fastest, and he's 0.105 of a second, so just over a 10th slower than Danny Junqueira. So McLaren back at the races. Remember early on we got excited about Ferraris. Well, they've now dropped to 7th and 9th, so there's quite a lot of shuffling. And actually the one sort of core group are Porsche, 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Yeah, again, I think Porsche are known not to have the straight line grunts so much, but maybe the aero, and they're good in the tight twistier corners. So yeah, I think every car has its track that it likes more than other tracks, and Porsche is a good all-round for tighter corners, I would have said.
Well, this is Bastian Buus in the quickest of the Porsches. third, and he saw that he bailed on that lap. He let the traffic go coming out of Stirling's, so he's got clear track space, diving down through paddock. Bastien Bus, somebody else that's not exactly a Brands Hatch expert, but he's on that climb up towards Druids, and getting clear real estate around you is absolutely vital, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to do a lap around here, you absolutely need some space. A toe is not going to work for you, for instance. No. There is nowhere to have a toe, whereas, as I talked about before, somewhere like Monza or Paul Ricard, a toe can work, but here there's not long enough straight, so you really just need an open track in front of you and maybe a target ahead. So he has got a car ahead of him that he can fixate on and try and work to catch, but that won't hamper his lap time.
And it's another Porsche. It is number 2, which is the other Boutsen car, which has got Dorian Boccolacci at the wheel. Dorian racing at Brands Hatch for the first time, and it's going to be therefore a Porsche laser focusing on another Porsche, as here Bastien Bus comes into Stirling's. This lap, a little bit slower than he had been in the middle sector. Dorian Boccolacci, though, is going quicker. Bus slower in sectors 1 and 2, in fact. Boccolacci ahead, just finding a fraction of time in the first sector. Simon Birch yet to serve his 10-minute stop-go, but he has just improved to 11th. And Boccolacci's up to 5th as he goes through, and Bastien Bus stays 3rd. Slower lap.
Yeah, they really need to get that 10-minute stop sorted now, because they don't want to carry that over to qualifying, that's for sure.
But you could put a case forward to say, well, okay, we're nearly into the last 10 minutes, so we'll box at the sort of 11-minute mark and just see out the session in the pits. We'll do all our work, and then we don't have to think about going back out.
Yeah, we got 3 cars now on 10 limits, 10 track limits. So the wise thing to do would just call it a day at 10 minutes before the end and say, fair enough, that's that. We're done for this session.
Yeah, the other one is Matthias Zagazetta's Ferrari number 51 that's got another 10-minute stop go. Louis Prat, meanwhile, number 58 McLaren. This is the car that runs in the Gold Cup, and it's only 22nd in the times. Does it improve? 17th, but I would have thought that car could have gone better than that. That's number 69 Ferrari, which has got Thierry Vermeulen as one of its drivers, and that is only 26th. Ben Green as co-driver, so it's a really good combination. They race together in Asia, but Thierry Vermeulen way down, 26th. All right, it's only free practice, but for the team's peace of mind, you'd want to be up at the pointy end at the end of this session.
You saw him on entering the fast corner. What was that corner? The fast double. There's 1 and then 2. What are those 2 called?
There's Westfield into Dingledale.
Yeah. No, so it was Westfield then.
Yeah.
You saw the rear move on him. So he doesn't have the confidence to carry the speed into the corner, because you can visibly see it. So in the car, that's going to feel even bigger.
And this is, again, on board, and a bit of a twitch at the bottom of paddock as the drone just about stays in touch. The drone is able to brake much later, trying to go around the outside. And now Vermeulen will squirt away, going downhill towards Graham Hill Bend. Speed building, hard on the brakes into Graham Hill Bend here, Peter.
Yeah, again, very conscious of that white line. He was safe that time, but he's on the limit. But you have to be, as I said before, almost millimetre perfect. Using all the track, all the speed you can take, but at the same time not pushing the car over.
So last time Vermeulen did improve when he came over the line. He's got up to 14th. But on this lap, let's see, sector 1 is a little bit slower. And the danger is he's going to count traffic as well soon. That was going into Westfield. This, meanwhile, is Dorian Boccolacci, 5th fastest. Heading up towards the timing line. Good sector 1, not so flash sector 2. Timing line beckons, he breaks the bead, stays 5th. And then a bit of traffic.
Yeah, definitely hampered through Paddock Hill. That'll be a little bit frustrating for him.
Yeah, that was Chris Lallam getting out of the way, but fraction of time lost. Kobe Powell's, meantime, he's rather commandeered this car. I don't think Nicky Team has been in it in this session, but all the drive time afforded to Kobe Powell's. He's up to 15th as well, and he comes across the line and stays 15th.
So we do, I mean, that's the one car we do know about. They put a new set of tyres on that car, and the pace is not probably where they want it to be.
A little bit of a slide going around Druids. Yeah.
So rear end dependent.
So 10 minutes of the session remain. And number 3, Mercedes, still tops the times. Another car running wide. That's the Dean McDonald McLaren. He's back at the wheel, having taken it over from Marvin Kirchhofer. And he's about to have a very busy track ahead of him, isn't he? Down towards Clearways here.
Again, frustration there. He's got a car passing on the inside, slower car cruising around, you know, maybe trying to keep out the way, but it's very difficult on this tight, twisty track.
And number 6 Mercedes is Aurélien Panis ahead. Olivier Panis' son, who's been a regular GT racer, but switching to the Get Speed Mercedes for this year. Behind is number 54 Porsche, Loris Cabirou, who in theory should be now serving his stop-go penalty. But anyway, there is Ricardo Feller and Bastien Bus doing a driver change to put Ricardo Feller into the car to the end. Drops down, blasts away. Louis Pret looking on, which suggests now that we've had a driver change in his car. But it's still his name that is shown alongside it. But I think once the car goes back out, Tom Fleming will register. Are they going to go back out? No, Tom's not in the car, is he? So the pair of them in the garage. Maybe that's a car with a problem, therefore. However, with just under 8 minutes to go, Chris Lallam is at the wheel of the quickest car, Danny Juncadella having done the time. The Team Verstappen Mercedes wasn't the fastest car in Paul Ricard, but it's certainly got good pace here. Thomas Neubauer bouncing his way over the curve at Westfield. And this is that run now through Sterling's, that left-hander. But Neubauer in sectors, not improving on what the car was doing earlier on. Another 10-minute stop-go penalty has been picked up by number 31 BMW. Jordan Pepper has just brought it in. But that was the car that Amaury Cordial was racking up the penalties with earlier on in the session. Consta Lapalainen's Ferrari, only 27th. Now, that was the car we saw brake work on, wasn't it, earlier on?
Yeah, you can see over the curbs, the bouncing of the rear. You see it's just, it's not as compliant as some of the other cars.
And they haven't got much time in this session to work on it. They'll have to do it before qualifying. But Lapalainen does go up to 7th. That was a big, big improvement, wasn't it?
Yeah, I imagine he's on brand new tyres now.
Yeah, dummy qualifying run in a sense, isn't it, now to see what the car is capable of. So through Druids it goes. And it is therefore Mercedes from McLaren, Porsche, 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 BMW, Ferrari, Ferrari, BMW and Ferrari the top 10, with Audi 11th at the moment. 6 minutes and change on the clock, as here into Clark Curve comes Aurélien Panis. Simon Birch, although he's got this Damocletian 10-minute stop-go penalty, fastest in silver, fastest in gold is the number 10 Robin Knudsen Porsche. So the class is looking competitive as well, and in the mix overall. Very wide at paddock though. There goes Panis.
Right, so number 6, hasn't he had many? He's got 5 penalties, so that'll be another track limits, I would have thought. Somewhere someone is looking at all these, double checking them all, and they're very, very busy.
Indeed, so there's a whole team of people looking at the track limits, and car 6, track limit warning, turn 1, just pops up on the screen. So confirmation at 12:54 and 16 seconds, it transgressed and it's been noted, and therefore the tally on the timing screen for Aurélien Panis now puts him on 6 track limit warnings. That's Simon Birch's car serving its 10-minute stop-go penalty. In other words, it's seeing out the session now.
Yeah, so it won't have to go back on track. No. Normally it would have to go back on track, but because the session will end with it there, they'll be happy enough with that. And, yeah, I think frustrating for possibly the teammate, depends on who did all the, but yeah, it's such a tricky one that the team will be a little bit disappointed. You've lost 10 minutes of track running, potentially a new tyre run you've lost.
So Danny Juncadella has done the best time for Mercedes number 3. We're going to have a full course yellow in 10 seconds. We had one in FP1 that was purely a test, and we think this is a test again, rather than it being for a car off the road. And this is another important part of free practice. It's not just about teams working on their cars, it's race control working with them to make sure everybody understands the processes should they be needed in the race.
Absolutely, you know, there's nothing like a bit of practice. Everyone needs a bit of practice just to get their skills honed.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've seen it firsthand. If you throw a safety car and you get it wrong, then it affects the whole race. And so from the organizer's point of view, they've got to be absolutely flawless in everything they do so that it won't affect the result of a race.
And some drivers needing to perhaps practice the fact that you get a 20-second count, but you don't have to slow down until the full course yellow is called. You get a warning, but you don't need to lift off 20 seconds before. You've got to time it, so it's practice for the drivers in that respect. This doesn't necessarily take us to the end of the session, but it was a lengthy one earlier on just to make everybody aware of what it's like to do a full course yellow process. And if it's wet tomorrow, then it could well be needed in the race, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the teams will be well aware that this was coming. Normally, the race director will tell them that this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it around about this time. So if you've got work to do, get it done before that, and don't take it right to the end of the session.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do it at the start, get it out of the way, and then let the teams go. And in other cases, as you say, the teams will have been notified at the briefing yesterday. So you're riding with, here, aboard number 69 Ferrari, Ben Green. Slowly making his way out of Sterling's second gear on that full course yellow speed limit button. Meanwhile, you can still use this part of the session to your advantage by doing practice pit stops, practice driver changes, practice tyre changes, and blasting back out goes Danny Juncadella, having replaced Chris Lallam in the car. Found soaking up the sunshine, and this is one of the circuits where you don't always find yourself the wrong side of debris fencing, so there are lots of great places to take photographs and to get close to the cars. James Kell has brought in the CSA Racing McLaren, and again, take the opportunity, another practice pit stop.
Yeah, and again, it's great for the drivers because, you know, on your in lap, and you're given a pit board, right, come in this lap. It's very easy to drive at 90%. I'm going in, so I'll chill. But you shouldn't. You have to come in at 100%. You need to test the limits of getting the car through that little chicane, getting it down to speed, and getting the car to your teammate as quick as possible, getting out the car, getting them strapped in, and then, because these little things make the difference, and that's where you can win or lose the race.
Fans young and old soaking up the weather and the atmosphere at Brands Hatch. Pretty busy for a qualifying day, as up onto the stilts goes number 50 Ferrari. Arthur Leclerc, who was top of the times at one stage, is now 10th. The green flag is back out with just under 90 seconds of the session to go. The green flag on short notice, and we are back out with green flags around the track again. Thomas Neubauer will go back out, and less than a lap time now left in the session. Circuit's not quite as busy. There are quite a few now in the pit lane, probably deciding that'll do us.
Yeah, I would think lots of the teams are saying, okay, we've accomplished what we want to accomplish. It's time to get the car ready for qualifying. It's not too far away now. So, yeah, it's a time that let's go and debrief, let's look at data, let's get the car right, and let's get prepared for qualifying.
That was Thierry Vermeulen we were looking at. Meanwhile, there's going to be another practice pit stop to make sure that Chris Lallam and Danny Juncadella are being able to jump in and out of the cars rapidly. Chris Lallam bringing it back in for Danny Juncadella to get on board. The Maro Engel Mercedes is now 23rd. Aurelien Panis has put the Bartone car up to 14th, but if you think that this and the Windward entry, number 48, are the Pro Cup cars, one to be fastest and the other 23rd would give Windward Racing something of a concern, surely.
And what, earlier today, Engel was 4th.
Yeah.
So either they're confident and happy and they're running full tanks and just trying to make a good race car for the race itself, but yeah, it's slightly concerning that they're that far down.
It's not going to improve because there it is, look in the background, the yellow man filter liveried Windward Racing Mercedes AMG GT3, so that is not going to go back out. The checkered flag's out anyway, so everybody now making their way into the pit lane. 914 has made it back out again. So it's done its stop-go, and Magnus Gustafsson given a lap to take the car up to the checkered flag. Gustafsson will go through, but that is 12th, topping silver, but that was largely down to the efforts of Simon Birch, who did a really good job, the Danish driver, early on in the session. Right, so that is appetite whetted for qualifying, which will be at 16:40. Will be on air later on in the day, 20 to 5, with a build-up to the qualifying session, with the 2 grids to be decided with a short break between. The teams, in some cases, are going to have a lot of work to do. Audi 66 never got out, so that car definitely working now towards qualifying. And 1 or 2 other teams perhaps with work to do. But it's a very happy Danny Junckadea who has done the top time in number 3, a 1:22.9 to be the fastest. And Danny Junckadea then is in the pit lane. We can hear from him with Nina Jade Paul.
Danny, most importantly, a lovely clean session for you and your top of the timing sheets. Set you up nicely for qualifying later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the best prep we can get. It's a short turnaround here with 3 practices and quali on the same day, so we seem to have the car very sorted. That's very good news. It's a lot of credit goes to the guys for getting us ready and getting us happy and fast so far. But let's see in qualifying. I think when others turn it up as well, we shall see.
You're the fastest Mercedes car by half a second. Is that just setup? What's the difference there?
No, I think it's always hard to read in practice because with so many cars, traffic comes into play, different programs for every team. We don't know what the others are doing in terms of tires, fuel. So in our case, proper quali simulation. So that's why I think we're also up top. But yeah, the Mercs should be decent here.
Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Danny Junckadea with a wealth of experience. I mean, he's raced here in Formula 3 and been a winner. He's raced here in the DTM and been a winner. He knows this car inside out. So, yeah, he's a cornerstone of that car, isn't he?
Yeah. Again, there's certain Mercedes names, Engel being one of them, that Mercedes rely on. And also, he's confirming the fact that each team is on a different strategy, and they went for all-out quali sim. So I would imagine Engel's car didn't.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and it's going to fight back when we get to qualifying. This is the order at the end of FP2 then. Danny Junckadea ahead of Marvin Kirchhofer by just over a tenth of a second. Ricardo Feller third from Robin Knudsen and Gio Magnus, who topped gold. Dorian Boccolacci seemed to rather commandeer number 2. Boris Schuring likewise new to Brands Hatch. Then Calvin van der Linde and Charles Wirtz, who were quickest in FP1. 6th ahead of Constant Apolainen and Matteo Cairoli. Tommaso Mosca with Matthias Agazetta next. Valentino Rossi 9th with Max Hesse. Arthur Leclerc and Thomas Neubauer 10th. The best silver entry 12th, Simon Birch and Magnus Gustafsson in the Razzoon Morgan Racing Porsche, and the car that never got out, number 66 Audi, the Ariel Levi and Andrea Frasinetti Audi, a legacy of the damage sustained in FP1. So an interesting session, topped by Mercedes, and we will look forward to seeing exactly what the order is like at the end of qualifying. Free practice 2, another hour on track at Brands Hatch for the teams, still in very hot temperatures, with this time no allotted 30-minute period for the Silvers, meaning everybody was out at the same time. A very busy circuit all the way through the session. First casualty, Dean McDonald, way wide at paddock, bounced his way through the gravel, demolished the marker board up at Druids. That carried on in the session, and that car ultimately would get itself to second with the time being set by Marvin Kirchhofer. The best Porsche was third, Ricardo Feller and Bastien Bus sharing it, and another car that was rapid, Tommaso Mosca's Ferrari number 51, but it ended up 8th, whereas 1 or 2 others found a real struggle at paddock Hillbend. Kobe Palvels, for example, in the Aston Martin, having a big wobble, getting himself back onto the circuit. The Aston, by the end of the session, only 17th, the car that won at Paul Ricard. 5th in the times, Dorian Boccolacci's Boots and VDS Porsche. 4th in the times, the sister car, Robin Knudsen and Gio Magnus sharing the driving. 3rd, Ricardo Feller behind the Dean McDonald and Marvin Kirchhofer McLaren. This, the car that was fastest. Danny Junckadea did the time for Verstappen Racing. So Mercedes tops FP2, BMW having top FP1, and it sets us up nicely for qualifying. We'll be on air at about 16:40 with a build-up to the qualifying session. Remember, it's one driver per stanza, so it's down to the individual driver to do the time. No amalgamation like we have in endurance. It's going to look very busy and very competitive as well. We'll see you later for qualifying in this first weekend in Sprint Cup.